Especially with something like The Passion that I did, the written word was very important because it was, you got all those books, the Bible.
Christianity is the one religion that you're allowed to disparage.
Yeah.
Christianity is the one religion where people, all these progressive.
During a raw, unscripted moment, Joe Rogan fell silent as Mel Gibson revealed a hidden truth buried inside The Passion of the Christ. What began as a casual conversation turned emotional, exposing symbolism audiences overlooked, scenes dismissed, and intentions never explained. Gibson's words reframed suffering, sacrifice, and faith, leaving Rogan visibly shaken. Clips spread instantly, sparking debate and disbelief worldwide. Was this revelation the missing key to understanding the film's power? Or proof that its deepest message was never meant for everyone watching today worldwide? The confession that broke the room. The most striking moment in Joe Rogan's conversation came when Mel Gibson began to speak about the church, not as a critic looking in from the outside, but as someone who grew up inside it.
I know it's
I
20
think
years
so,
later.
too.
It's 20 years later, but it's...
Yeah, but it's the right guy.
As a son speaking about his own family, Gibson did not speak with rage or bitterness. Instead, his words carried grief. He talked about the deep pain of discovering corruption within the very institution that shaped his beliefs and spiritual life. He addressed the abuse scandals, the hidden reports, and the quiet protection of powerful people while children were left to suffer. What troubled him most was not only the crimes themselves, but the silence that followed. To him, silence was not neutral. Silence meant helping the harm continue. As he spoke, it became clear that he was holding two truths at the same time. He described the church as having two faces. One is made up of sincere people who serve, sacrifice, pray, and live with genuine faith. The other is a hidden system, more focused on protecting itself than protecting the vulnerable. According to Gibson, the church's political power, especially at the Vatican level, has often made real accountability difficult. Instead of facing justice, offenders were sometimes moved quietly from place to place. Speaking about this cost Gibson something. He knew that talking openly could distance him from a community he loved and belonged to. But staying quiet felt like a deeper betrayal. For him, telling the truth was painful, but lying by silence was worse. This was the moment when Joe Rogan visibly changed. The usual emotional distance he keeps disappeared. His voice softened, his eyes filled with tears. What unfolded was no longer a normal podcast discussion. It became a shared human moment about loss, honesty, and the heavy price of integrity. Then Gibson shifted the conversation toward what he believes comes next, the resurrection. For years, he has been working on a sequel to The Passion of the Christ. But this new film is not meant to be a simple follow-up. It is far more ambitious.
Anyone to come up with an assertion that there is a bigger story to tell than the resurrection of Jesus Christ.
He wants to explore the resurrection not just as an event, but as something that echoes across time, history, and eternity. To him, the resurrection is the center point of Christianity. Everything stands or falls on it. If it really happened, Gibson believes, then death is not the end. But if it did not happen, then Christianity has no foundation at all. He asks a simple but unsettling question. Who would willingly die for something they know is a lie? That question drives his work, his faith, and his storytelling. Gibson is not trying to force belief on anyone. He wants believers to think more deeply about what they claim to believe, and skeptics to feel unsettled enough to question their assumptions. He wants people to wrestle with meaning, purpose, and what happens when life ends. So what was the hidden truth that brought Joe Rogan to tears? It was not just about a movie. It was not only about religion. It was not even just about corruption or resistance. It was the realization that real conviction always comes with a cost. That telling the truth can leave you isolated. That trusted institutions can fail. That honest art can still change lives. And that some stories are worth every sacrifice it takes to tell them. Mel Gibson's. Film journey shows courageous honesty, standing alone for truth, rejecting compromise, and wielding a power that moves hearts. How did Gibson feel about spilling everything out? What was the atmosphere like?
Of course, that's been working its way out too, and that took longer because that's a bigger story.
Let's delve into the details of the story that's too dangerous to control. The film Hollywood tried to silence. When Mel Gibson appeared on the Joe Rogan podcast, it didn't feel like a celebrity stopping by to promote an old movie. There was no excitement, no playful banter, no attempt to sell anything. Something heavier settled into the conversation. The relaxed rhythm Joe Rogan is known for slowly disappeared. The pauses grew longer. The tone grew serious. It felt as though both men had stepped into deeper water. Gibson began to speak about the passion of the Christ, but not the way directors usually talk about their films. He didn't sound proud or nostalgic. He sounded like someone remembering a war. Not a war fought with cameras and scripts, but one fought with fear, doubt, and resistance that came from every direction. Gibson says the film faced hostility and isolation because it challenged expectations and refused to present a safe Bible story. Gibson was not interested in making a comfortable religious film that people could watch politely and forget. He wanted something raw, disturbing, and impossible to ignore. He wanted a film that would not allow viewers to stay emotionally distant. A film that forced people to face pain, responsibility, and sacrifice directly, without soft edges. To do this, he went deep into the source material. He studied the four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, not only reading what was written, but paying attention to what was suggested beneath the words. He explored early Christian writings, theology, symbolism, and the spiritual struggle surrounding the crucifixion. His goal was not to entertain, it was to confront. At the center of the film was one uncomfortable idea that Gibson believed could not be escaped. If Jesus truly rose from the dead, then everything changes. And if he did not, then the entire story falls apart. There is no safe middle position. That kind of sharp clarity makes people uneasy, especially in an industry that prefers open-ended meanings and blurred conclusions. Ambiguity is comfortable. Certainty is not. From the very first scene in the Garden of Gethsemane, the film makes its intention clear.
We are sitting in what could be or is nearby or could actually be the spot of the Garden of Gethsemane.
Jesus is not shown as distant or untouchable. He is fully human. He is afraid. He is overwhelmed. He sweats blood under crushing emotional and spiritual pressure. Darkness surrounds him. His closest companions cannot stay awake, and the enemy does not arrive with noise or violence, but with whispers. Then comes the serpent, and then its head is crushed. This moment is not accidental. It points back to one of the earliest promises of redemption in Scripture. Gibson made sure nothing was random. Every shadow mattered. Every image carried weight. This was not a movie designed to play quietly in the background. It demanded attention. It asked viewers to lean forward, to feel uncomfortable, to wrestle with questions they might rather avoid. And according to Gibson, this is exactly why Hollywood was afraid of it. Still, he moved forward. When no one would fund the film, he paid for it himself. He risked his career, his reputation, and his personal fortune. Industry experts insisted there was no audience for such a movie. They said people would not come. They said it would fail. They were completely wrong. The film went on to earn more than $600 million worldwide, becoming one of the highest-grossing R-rated films ever made. People returned to theaters again and again. Churches organized group screenings. Conversations spread across cultures, beliefs, and backgrounds. The same industry that tried to silence the film was forced to stand back and watch as it became a global phenomenon. What happened behind the scenes of this movie? Was there any significant event? Let's dive into the details of how filmmaking became something more. Pain, power, and unexplainable moments. The making of The Passion of the Christ was almost as powerful and demanding
Take me to him. Lord, you call him Lord?
Ending as the story it set out to tell. From the very beginning, the atmosphere on set was heavy, emotional, and deeply intense. For many of the people involved, acting no longer felt like acting. The boundary between performance and real life slowly faded, leaving behind uncomfortable moments, moving and unforgettable. Jim Caviezel suffered real physical pain while filming The Passion of the Christ. The cross he carried was heavy and exhausting, and during filming, his shoulder was dislocated. In the whipping scene, the strikes were stronger than planned, causing real injuries. The pain seen on screen was genuine, not acted. Events on set became even more disturbing when the assistant director was struck by lightning twice, and Caviezel himself was reportedly struck during the crucifixion scene but survived unharmed. Because lightning holds strong biblical meaning, many felt these incidents were more than coincidence, creating a powerful sense that something extraordinary was unfolding. The changes that occurred during filming were not only physical, some were deeply emotional and spiritual. The actor who played Judas reportedly began the project as an atheist. Day after day, he had to step into the role of betrayal, regret, and despair. Over time, the weight of that role began to affect him personally. By the end of filming, he was said to have experienced a serious change in his beliefs. The story he was acting out began to touch his own life in unexpected ways. Maya Morgenstern, who played Mary, experienced a quiet but powerful contrast. During filming, she did not know she was pregnant. As she portrayed a mother watching her son suffer and die, new life was growing within her. Death and life existed side by side, unseen, but deeply meaningful. This contrast added a haunting layer to her performance, even though she was unaware of it at the time. There were also stories of healing that spread among the cast and crew. One story spoke of a young child with severe epilepsy, who reportedly went an entire month without seizures while filming was going on. Others shared experiences of renewed faith, emotional clarity, or a sense of peace they could not fully explain. Whether these moments were spiritual, psychological, or coincidental, they left a lasting impression on those who witnessed them. In the end, people could not agree on how to explain everything that happened. Some saw divine intervention. Others believed it was the emotional power of the story affecting the human mind. Still, others called it coincidence. But no one denied the impact. The cast and crew felt they were part of something bigger than a movie. It felt like a shared journey through suffering, meaning, and mystery. One scene captured this feeling perfectly. After the crucifixion, Jesus' lifeless body is placed in Mary's arms. The image mirrors Michelangelo's famous sculpture, the Pietà.
For the first time in history, the three versions of the Pietà by Michelangelo are together under the same roof.
In that moment, grief and strength meet. Pain and dignity exist together. Loss stands beside hope. Human sorrow touches something sacred. That image went beyond religion. It spoke to anyone who has ever loved deeply or lost someone dear. By the time the film reached the world, it carried more than a story. It carried the weight of real pain, deep reflection, and unanswered questions. It was not just watched, it was felt. What do fans have to say about the movie? What is it all about? Let's dive into the details of the film that brought the final hours of Jesus to the screen. The Passion of the Christ, 2004 American biblical drama film produced and directed by Mel Gibson, who also co-wrote the screenplay with Benedict Fitzgerald. The film brings to life the final and most painful moments in the earthly life of Jesus Christ. Jim Caviezel plays the role of Jesus with deep intensity, while Maya Morgenstern portrays Mary, his grieving mother, and Monica Bellucci appears as Mary Magdalene. Together, their performances help shape a story that is emotional, heavy, and unforgettable. The Passion of the Christ centers on the arrest, trial, and crucifixion of Jesus Christ, drawing mainly from the 4 Gospels of the Bible. It also weaves in elements from other religious sources, including the mystical visions of Anne Catherine Emmerich and traditional reflections known as the Friday of Sorrows. Through this blend, the film seeks to portray not only historical events, but also their deep emotional and spiritual meaning. The story focuses on the final 12 hours before Jesus' death, known as the Passion. It begins in the Garden of Gethsemane, where Jesus prays in anguish, fully aware of what lies ahead, and continues through his betrayal, arrest, trials, and brutal suffering. Throughout the film, viewers also witness the pain of Mary, Jesus' mother, whose sorrow reflects an earlier prophecy made by Simeon that her heart would be pierced by grief. Her silent suffering runs alongside her son's physical torment, adding another layer of emotional weight to the story. The film reaches its most intense moments during the crucifixion, where Jesus is nailed to the cross and eventually dies. It closes quietly with a brief but meaningful scene of his resurrection, offering a small but powerful sign of hope after immense suffering. To give more depth to the story, the film does not move in a straight line alone. It often pauses to show flashbacks from Jesus' earlier life. These include moments like the Last Supper with his disciples and teachings such as the Sermon on the Mount. There are also gentle memories from his childhood, reminding viewers of his humanity and the love that surrounded him before the pain. One of the film's most striking features is its use of language. All dialogue is spoken in reconstructed Aramaic, Hebrew, and Latin, the languages likely used during that time. Although Mel Gibson initially did not want subtitles, they were eventually added, making the film accessible to a wider audience while keeping its sense of realism. Most of the movie was filmed in Italy, with locations chosen to closely resemble the ancient world. When the film was released by Newmarket Films on February 25, 2004, it immediately sparked strong reactions. Many viewers described it as a deeply spiritual and moving experience, praising the acting, visual detail, and John Debney's emotional musical score. Others, however, criticized the film for its extreme violence and accused it of promoting anti-Semitic ideas. These divided opinions made the film one of the most talked-about releases of its time. Despite the controversy, the film was a huge financial success. Made on a budget of about $30 million, earned over $612 million worldwide. It became the highest-grossing Christian film ever made and the most successful independent film in history. In the United States, it also held the record as the highest-grossing R-rated film for 20 years. The film received 3 Academy Award nominations in 2005, recognizing its makeup, cinematography, and original score. Plans are now in place for 2 sequels, titled The Resurrection of the Christ, Part 1 and Part 2, both expected in 2027. These upcoming films will continue the story with a new cast, revisiting one of the most significant events in Christian belief from a fresh perspective. So, what do you think of Mel Gibson's submissions? Do you think Joe Rogan overreacted by being emotional? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.